All right, guys, get your motor running. Here we go. That's John Conroy, one of our managers, and not only an experienced cyclist but also an experienced runner. He's going to be our guide today. We start down at the back end, the south end of the stadium, and a nice, gentle, ever so slight rise in the road as we head out of the stadium. You're feeling fresh at this point, and of course, the biggest mistake made by racers of both genders is to go out too quickly. So you got to really hold yourself back, force yourself to go slower. So we've got a slight incline, little ascent here, out onto Alderman Road. Of course, you won't stop at the stop sign here, like John, of course, is following the rules of the road. You'll haul right up onto Alderman Road. Look to your right. You get to look down into the bowl of the stadium. And we're cruising along relatively flat here on Alderman Road, which again can be trouble at the start of the race because of the scenario of you feeling pretty juiced up, adrenaline's flowing, and you end up going out too quickly. We will have a half-mile mark on the course, and that'll help you to stay engaged with this whole notion of going out a little bit slower. Alderman nice and flat here. Heading up past all the new dorms on the left. UVA's done a nice job with those, pretty tastefully done, the architect, so looking good there. Of course, on race day, the course will be closed to auto traffic, so really a nice perk there. John, of course, hauling along on his bicycle here. And we're coming up to the corner of Alderman and McCormick. You're going to take a right, a sharp right into Central Grounds, and really, personally think this is really nice scenic course with the whole notion of going through Jefferson's University and up into the Rugby Road neighborhoods. Okay, so here's the half-mile split. Is right about in this tree grove here on the right past that fire hydrant. It's about half-mile in, and if you've gone out too fast, you still have some time to kind of pull back and say, whoa, I need to get this in check and pace myself a little bit better. So going right through Central Grounds here, nice flat to almost downhill section here. You can kind of feel it on John's viewpoint here. Of course, the bus gates will not be down on race day. It's a Sunday. They'll be wide open, and there'll be no auto traffic, and hopefully not too rainy, although a rainy day wouldn't be the worst in the world. So here we got a slight downhill. Again, we're Central Grounds. We're going up over the Emmett Street Bridge. And you're about 3/4 of a mile into the race now. Here comes the first, I don't call it significant, but it's the first hill of consequence. It's come up past the engineering school here, Monroe Hill. And you don't want to have to, early on in a race, you should not be working the uphills. So you want to let your perceived effort drop the pace back and kind of gently get yourself up the hill. Don't waste a lot of gas, a lot of energy on this first hill of consequence. Coming up on the mile mark, which is right on the West Range. Again, there's another gate there. You're going to go right by that. The gate will not even be down, like I said earlier. Okay, right along the West Range here, we're still pretty flat. It's a nice terrain. I think first mile of this course has got a few uphills, but for the most part, pretty fair. We just passed the mile mark there, just before Poe's Room in the West Range here, and we're coming up on the chapel right in the heart of Jefferson's grounds here. Really scenic part of the university, just literally one block over from the famous lawn. And here we go. John keeping up with the traffic here, pretty good. Got a nice slight little downhill here that leads up to the busiest intersection of the course. Of course, again, the roads will be closed to auto traffic, so you're going to be able to zoom right through the intersection, one of the busiest intersections in Charlottesville, the Rugby University Avenue intersection. All right, I'm going to pause here and get back with you when John gets going again, because John, again, is observing the rules of the road, which not all cyclists do, I'm sad to say, especially around the university area, so he's stopping at red. Okay, so now we're off through the intersection. And of course, John, again, having a pause there for the red light. And I think, again, another kind of iconic part of our community and really nice treat. You're going to, of course, everything we're seeing, you're going to see twice because it's basically an out and back course. But Rugby Road, past Mad Bowl, Madison Lane, Mad Bowl, Fraternity Row here, the Fralin Bailey Museum to the left, and nice, again, relatively flat section, slight rise here as you climb towards Beta Bridge. And we're going to go shoot on by Beta Bridge. Past, okay, up past Westminster. And up past Gordon, and we're climbing now. We are definitely doing some gentle climbing. Now at this point, not a bad idea to push it a little bit because you're warmed up, you're engaged in the race, you're almost 2 miles into the event, you're certainly about a mile and a half, almost a mile and 3/4. So you don't want to be being too conservative at this point. You're going to make a sharp right up to the steepest hill of the course. This is also one of the steeper short hills on the 10-miler course. Yeah, look at that. You can even see it from this angle. You want to work your way up that because it rewards you on the other side. So knowing that there's a pretty decent descent on the other side. We're on Grady now. That's a nice little kickback. So you can get your breathing back as you're really recovering on the downhill. You're naturally recovering. So we're going to make a left as you head down the hill here and go past the library, and we're really on a nice decent downhill here, and you're going to make a left. Of course, one-way street. Of course, you're running, so that won't matter. And now you're on Cabell, and you're working your way back through the neighborhoods back behind Rugby Road here. A lot of student housing back here, rentals. At this point, anytime there's a downhill, you really want to charge it. And a great way to approach a downhill is to lean at your ankles and really lean, letting the momentum take you down. All right. A little herky-jerky in here, of course, not John, but the course. I designed this course several years ago, and this was our way of getting 2 miles in, was to do this little button hook loop in here. Pretty nice, actually, and it'll be well marked on race day. Pretty flat here, and now I think personally this is the part of the course where you got to be the most mental, because it's the last decent uphill of the race where you really have to put your head down. So John's turning left, and look where we're at again. We're back onto Rugby, heading up towards the Unitarian Church. And it's a steady climb here, probably the longest, most sustained uphill of the entire course. And you can work your way up this, shorten your stride, think of lifting your knees up, getting up off your feet, driving with your midsection, of course, the cliche overused term core, but it's totally applicable. But you're really working on your arms and you're lifting your knees through your core here. And you crest the hill, and this is where, the racing gets going. You've just, oops, I missed the 2 mile mark. It was back there as you came off onto Rugby. And now, second half of the race, I think is a pretty decent reward. The first half of the race, definitely more uphills than there are in the second. You look at this. This is John's flying now, and the fact that he's flying means that you should be flying too when you run. It's down, down. You go through the light at Grady, down here, through the past the fraternities, the Kappa Kappa Gamma house, the old Prism Coffee House, past Westminster, and shooting down. You're still flying here. You're leaning into this. You're opening it up at this point. You are not wasting any opportunity to make up any kind of time you lost on those uphills, because it's a reward here. And you'll see, based on the pace here, this is not fast forwarded all of a sudden. This is John really cruising on the terrain here. It's not quite as steep a downhill as you just went through, but it's still Here we go again. Right through Central Grounds again, back onto McCormick. And it's not as downhill here, but you're working this because now we're almost to the 3-mile mark, and I mean, no saving it, no wasting. You do not want to wait to the last quarter mile to try and make up time. You're making up any chance you can. If you've been smart and you've executed properly and you've avoided the seduction of feeling great at the beginning and you've gone out at a more relaxed pace, you should be able to negative split really decently. Your second half of this race should be definitely significantly faster your time than the first half. Past Monroe Hill here. And nice downhill here at the engineering school. You'll see it here. This is another one you just want to lean, not from your torso, but from your ankles. Almost like a ski jumper type lean. Here we go again. Really flying down through here. Down through Central Grounds. Over Emmett Street again. You can see the pace of John's bicycle now. And again, the course will for the most part be auto free, so you'll have free reign of the course. It's a nice treat courtesy of the city and University Police. Of course, Schultzville Track Club have volunteers all along the course. The UVA Urology Department will have volunteers all along the course. The two co-organizers of this pretty special event, our bookend of the Women's 4-miler. And past the old dorms. Again, the gates will be completely up. At this point, what I always recommend for my racers and the way I used to race you start to. Oh, by the way, we just passed 3 miles back there as we came down the hill right before Emmett. Focus in on the shoulder blades of the runner ahead of you or his shoes. Whatever you can get lock into and try and bring that gaze closer. Try and bring the person more in focus and then try and pass them. No, you're not trying to be uber competitive with them, but if you're passing, it means you're picking up the pace. So, all right. Another left here. Back onto Alderman, and we're heading home now. We are we're about a half a mile away from the finish line now, and this is it. You should be hurting at this point, breathing pretty heavy, working hard, and focusing on bringing that stadium closer to you with each step. And where the course doesn't duplicate itself here is right at the AFC. You're going to actually make a left. So at the AFC, you're going to make a left onto Whitehead Road, and I'm going to see what John does here. Here we go. Good. All right. John, a really experienced cyclist and former really solid Western Elmore runner. I do believe John is running the race this year too. Okay, this is cool because to the right you can look down actually at the finish line, which is down on the field of Scott Stadium. And of course, you lose view of it here because you're now quite a bit above the stadium. But this is all downhill here because think about it: to get into the field at Scott Stadium, you got to get into the bowels of it. So we're going to go to an underground garage. To get the underground garage, you got to go downhill. So really great part of the course. You should be flying at this point. Now we're going to come up to Stadium Road, around the back end of the stadium, and away. John's going to make a quick stop here, and then away we go. And then one of the steepest downhills of the course, because again, we got to get down underneath the stadium. And you're going to make a sharp right here into the parking garage that's basically in the basement of Scott Stadium. And you'll make a little, I don't know what John's done here. I didn't give him specific instructions, but you're going to come in here. Okay, so in the past, we've come into the garage and turned right and then made a quick left into the east ramp. And this is what John is actually doing. And John rode this the other day when we thought this was the side we were going to continue to use. But we've made a change, a very cool change. So you are going to come into the garage, and instead of doing what John is doing here like we've done in the past, you're going to make a left, and there is a mirror ramp just like this east ramp. There's a west ramp on the other side. You'll be guided on race day, no worries. You're going to finish up there. So thanks again to John Conroy for a great tour of what I think is a really nice course, historic one to Central Grounds and up to Rugby Road. Nice.